Welcome back for our second session. We've got a great lineup of panelists to be able to speak to where we need to go, best practices, and closing the gaps in services. And so these folks have been working on the ground in all kinds of ways with those kinds of questions. So I'm going to introduce them in a moment, and then I'm going to ask each of them to speak for just 3 minutes or 4 minutes or so that, again, we've got time for conversations and Q&A about what you're seeing from where you're situated with practices on the ground in terms of best practices and closing the gap. So I'm not going to do this in exactly the order in which we're seated. Maybe you can wave as I'm saying briefly a brief intro for you. Tiana Mazel serves as the Warming Center Director for Frontline Response, where she serves fellow citizens in her native DeKalb County. She has also held leadership positions within the nonprofit sector, state of Georgia, and local community service providers. Heidi Everly has been the program manager for St. Vincent de Paul's Motel to Home program since its inception in 2019, starting with an initial 12 families, helping them move into housing and providing wraparound services. The program has continued to grow and today has helped over 250 families move into stable housing. Dr. Tammy Hughes is the executive director of A Home for Everyone in DeKalb, an organization providing financial assistance, transitional housing, and other supportive services for those experiencing homelessness in DeKalb. Christina Porter is the founder of Chamblee Coalition on Homelessness, a team of citizens, nonprofits, government agencies, and faith communities that work towards solutions for the unhoused in DeKalb County. Timothy Hardy is the Deputy Director for the DeKalb Code Compliance Administration. He has also served in various positions related to code enforcement with the City of Smyrna, Sandy Springs, and Fulton County. And then Tommy Phillips is the Community Development Coordinator with DeKalb County Community Development Department. And prior to his role in that position, he served as the Engagement Manager for all Pathways Homeless Management Information System community implementations, where he coordinated communications and other matters related to the Continuum of Care projects. So we've got a great group of folks here with us to think aloud about these matters. Can we just start right here and then we'll work our way down? And again, just take 3 or 4 minutes to give us your perspective from where you're situated, and then we can have a conversation.
Absolutely. All right. So some of the successes that we've seen with speaking with those individuals is spending the time with those individuals and spending one-on-one time with them so they can have individualized case plans with them, addressing their trauma-informed care and their individualized needs, but also collaborating with other service providers where we were able to seek placements and see long-term jeopardy with those individuals and spending that time with them. Because as you know, this is a complex issue, so just having that warming center aspect with them, we didn't spend that much time with them, but when we did those 2 pilots and we were able to spend more time with those individuals, we were really able to dig in to those individual needs. So having forums like this and just continuing our collaborative efforts. I know we've done it before in DeKalb, where we have reinvented what we needed to do and came together. So it's that time again that we can all collaborate together and continue efforts like this together, because it's going to take everybody, all municipalities, and just not just those individually, but we have to do it all together. But it can be done.
I'm not a speed talker like Diana, so I will try to speak up for those in the back, though. I wanted to say, first of all, I'm a social worker, so I'm a solver. And when I encounter our citizens who are unhoused, and the term that they're our neighbors, they're also our clients because they're unhoused for a reason. Part of it is because there is a lack of enough housing, and I appreciate Mike's drawing our attention to how vast that problem is. The other ancillary issues that they're struggling with make it necessary for our wraparound services to happen, which is why we have to be collaborative in everything that we do. I think that's going to be the underlying thing to what we all talk about, is how it takes all of us. We are taking on some of the toughest challenges to help some of the most desperate individuals in our communities, and so none of us can do it alone. We have to work together to make sure that best practices are uniform across our collaboration, and that none of us can be all things to all people. So we'll try to do what we do well and then pass our neighbors off to the next organization so that they can do what they do well. At A Home for Everyone in DeKalb, what we do well A couple of things. As was mentioned, we do have a transitional home for men in a residential neighborhood in DeKalb County, which is experiencing no NIMBYism as a result of that. Because we provide some wraparound services, we didn't just plop them there in the house and leave them. We provide case management for them and make sure that they are following the case plan, because it isn't permanent supportive housing, it is a transitional house, and so our goal is to help them transition from us into a permanent housing solution with those wraparound services so that we aren't seeing that recidivism that Terry talked about. We also provide rapid housing assistance, not rapid rehousing, but rapid housing, because we're able to forego some of the bureaucracy that is necessary in some of the other organizations. But if you are facing eviction, you don't have time to jump through 12 hurdles. Your landlord wants their money now, or they'll see you at the courthouse, right? And so we're trying to help to avoid some of those courthouse trips by offering that financial assistance. One of the challenges I have to say is we talk a lot about eviction prevention and assisting families once they're in eviction. If you're low income, you really can't afford to get an eviction. One, you're low income, meaning you likely have credit challenges. And once you're in eviction status, that exacerbates your income challenge and your credit challenge, which means if your eviction is enforced, or even if you forego it, you'll have that much more of a difficult time getting rehoused, right? And so we want to work on, I heard one of the panelists talk about going further upstream. So one of the ways that we can mitigate homelessness and it growing is that we catch them before they become homeless, right? So the panelists who talk about housing stability, that's our goal, is to make sure that they never enter into the ecosystem of homelessness, right? So we can't do all of that. So it takes all of us up here and the panelists who came before us. So we do transitional housing, we work on rapid rehousing, and we also have a new initiative that I'm proud to say we're partnering with Commissioner Patrick. Melvia talked about some of the challenges of getting our unhoused neighbors to the services that they need. And so one of the proposals that we put forth and that Commissioner Patrick's office is funding is an initiative called DASH, and that is DeKalb advocacy supporting our homeless neighbors, right? So in short, DASH is going to help get them from where you see them to where there are services connected, right? I believe in inverting the burden. Don't give me a card with an appointment. Take me there or help me get there. Where are the services? What time are they open? What do they do there? And so with our initiative, we will be working to get those in need to the resources instead of trying to get the weight on the person who's already in need and already in a desperate situation. So those are some of the things that we do. I look forward to partnering with more of you in this room and all of you on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. My name is Tommy Phillips, and I work with the community development and multiple programs. One of the ones I want to talk a little bit about to you today is about the street outreach team that we're staffing in community development in DeKalb County. We have a lot of our teammates here present today that help us with the street outreach. We have coordinating entry. We have Dr. Josie Batchelor in the room that works with our agencies and homeless individuals. I think you have issues in a lot of the communities across DeKalb County, so what we've offered is the ability for you to call in, let us know when you see the unsheltered, to reach out to us so we can send our team out to help them get connected to services. I think one of the challenges that we've had is trying to make sure that people know how to reach us when they don't have cell phones or they don't have communications. So our street outreach team's out there helping them doing street intakes to make sure they can connect to services and make sure we can get them housed again and get them off the street. One of the challenges that we have is that DeKalb is so big. We have over 270 square miles in DeKalb County that we're responsible for. So you start seeing now a lot of homeless people in the wooded areas, Matter of fact, we have a cleanup going on right now, right outside this facility here on 85, that's going to take place on Monday. So with the help of code enforcement, Mr. Hardy, we're helping to try to connect to some of the problems that we have across DeKalb County and clean up some of the facilities that you may not see it. Sometimes homeless people are invisible. So you don't really know that across a lot of the interchanges right in DeKalb County, we have homeless people in the underpasses at the bridges. And we've had that situation here right at 85 and Shamley Tucker. We cleaned that situation up, but we relocated the individuals there. We have another one on North Crest that we're getting ready to do on Monday to relocate those individuals and get them connected to housing. And that is the responsibility of our outreach team to be able to do that, connect them to services and get them in the shelter. In a lot of cases, sometimes they're not ready to go in the shelter. I think one of the things you need to understand is their choice, it's a personal choice. And we have a struggle with our policing unit, so we work directly with the DeKalb County Policing Unit when we have situations where we have people on the street and they haven't made up their minds yet that they want to go in housing. So it's always a challenge, and our outreach team has to go out with them and work with them to get their trust, to make sure that they can make up their mind as to when they want to go into shelter and seek housing. And so we're looking to do more of that and have more people out in the street connecting with services and connecting with the unhoused and get them connected to services in multiple ways. Through the help of the Department of Community Affairs, we bought 2 vans. So you probably see our little white vans running around DeKalb County to seek and find unsheltered individuals across the county and connect them with services. We have limited shelter space. One of the challenges that we have is you look at the numbers in terms of people that we're seeking on the street, you have to match that with shelter beds or housing, and there's a mismatch. So thanks to Commissioner Patrick having this session, he's going to help us fix that problem. And that way we can look at increasing the amount of bed space we have to seek more available housing for the unsheltered, so we can really help you see the problem, because you pass by it every day. Just need to understand what's going on in the heads of some of these individuals. It's not magic. Sometimes it takes a while for that light to go on, for them to understand it's time to go in. So we're going to be working directly with our friends at code enforcement. We're going to be working with policing units to seek more help to get people off the street. Looking forward to working with you. If you have issues, please call Coordinate Entry and let us know when you see unsheltered individuals, and we'll seek those individuals out and get them connected to services. Thank you.
I'm Christina Porter. I'm a 33-year resident of Chamblee, which is in North DeKalb. And as a concerned citizen, I'm honored to share my thoughts and experiences with the homeless community over the last 4 years. My journey is a little bit different because I am a citizen, not a nonprofit or a government employee or a county employee. My journey began in March of 2020, which feels like a lifetime ago, but was only 4 years ago, when I heard that homeless shelters in downtown Atlanta, due to the shutdown, the lockdown, had no food. And I mobilized people in our community to provide an average of 1,800 handmade, homemade sack lunches that were delivered to 9 shelters in downtown Atlanta every single Saturday for 3 years. This is about community and working together. My volunteer drivers every Saturday kept seeing more and more homeless people on the streets, and they didn't know why, and they didn't know how to fix it. So I saw an opportunity and led a homelessness symposium in 2021. And I will tell you that there's such a difference between what people think homelessness looks like and what homelessness does look like. And my audience members were shocked to find out that DeKalb has no shelter, that many services are limited by barriers, the family makeup, whether you have a pet or you have medical issues or mental, whatever it is, there are a lot of barriers that prevent people from seeking services or getting services. And above all, it was shocking to many of the audience members how debilitating it is to try to navigate the system when you don't have an ID card, when you don't have a cell phone, when you don't have an address. That is a starting point and a huge barrier. So I used all my SAC Lunch Brigade connections with the shelters downtown and I saw a need and began building the Chamblee Coalition on Homelessness. The objectives are to break down the silos within and between service providers, to eliminate duplicate efforts and streamline deliverables, and to work together so we can work smarter and speed up success. The coalition umbrella involves food pantries. I'm part of the Chamblee Nonprofit Partnership Program, the Chamblee Police Department Task Force on Homelessness. I'm a board member of the Community Assistance Center in Dunwoody and Sandy Springs, which their sole purpose is to prevent homelessness. The DeKalb County at large has the House the Unhoused DeKalb Alliance, which has done phenomenal work. And then nonprofits in the North DeKalb area. I saw a need in 2022, winter of 2022. I figured out how to operate a warming center for women in Brookhaven, had the desire and the intent to do another warming center for women during the cold winter months in Doraville and Brookhaven. We could not get permitted. Not looking at anybody in particular. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. We could not get permitted to operate, so I shifted gears, and I was at the North DeKalb Senior Center, which is the collection point for homeless to be transported to frontline response. I just want to shout out right now, thank you DeKalb County for having a county-wide solution on cold nights. Thank you to Frontline. Thank you to Frontline Response for stepping up in a huge way. Thank you for the City of Brookhaven for your support, and a big shout out to the Chamblee Coalition on Homelessness volunteers who were out there every cold night. We had 61 cold nights. We were out there every night standing with our homeless, listening to them, encouraging them, giving them hats and coats and gloves and socks and shoes and MARTA cards and snacks and hot chocolate. This is what a community effort could look like. And I just want to say in closing, if I can do this as a private citizen, without a big account, without a job description, without an MSW degree, imagine what we can do with the hearts and minds in this room. Imagine what we could do.
So I'm with St. Vincent de Paul. I think a lot of you are familiar with us. And first of all, I want to thank Commissioner Patrick because you were one of our very early funders. Thank you so much for supporting Motel to Home. It's an incredible need out there. We work with a different community. So our families are working families, hardworking families who have income to afford rent, but they've lost their housing at some point and they've ended up in hotels. Hotels have become family shelters. Very expensive family shelters. Families are paying between $400 and $500 a week to live in these. So that prevents them from saving money. They can't get that first month's rent deposit to move out. That's where our program was founded. I've been a volunteer caseworker with St. Vincent de Paul for 25 plus years. And we kept going to the same hotels, seeing these working families stuck. We could help them with a week in the hotel, but that was kind of all we were doing. So a co-caseworker of mine, Denise Fisher, who is now our board chairman for St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia, decided we have to do something. These families have income, they can afford, they would pay less in rent than they would in the hotel. So we kind of started this Motel to Home. Didn't really know what we were doing. ProTeep and United Way were on board from the very beginning, and the city of Norcross is where we kind of started. We started with 12 families because we didn't really know what we were doing. We made it up as we went along, and we really started in January of 2020. Well, March hit and COVID, and we had 12 families that we were working with. We got very creative. We met in parks, we did a lot of Zoom things, but by the end of the year, all 12 were in housing. So we thought, okay, this works, we can do it. Now what? We need more money, more funding. So St. Vincent de Paul has been tremendous about finding the funding, finding money. We've partnered with Tommy and DeKalb during COVID funding. We've just kind of put this together as best we can. And now we have a really robust program. So in 2023, we housed 265 families. And that's, again, it takes a village. It's not just us. And what we found, wraparound services are key. So anybody can move somebody into a house, a home, an apartment. But our goal is to keep them there. We want them stably housed. That involves a lot of wraparound services. Families feel once they've moved in, great, everything's terrific. And no, they're actually just starting to get hard again. You have a water bill that you didn't have. You have an electricity bill. So we do a lot of budgeting. That is a key part of our program, is budgeting and continued budget. It's a 12-month program, so they have access to our caseworkers for 12 months. We try and mitigate as best we can. A lot of our families are hourly paid jobs. Johnny gets sick, they miss a week work. Now we're short on rent. We try and do the best we can to puzzle things together. We use other nonprofits, other organizations to try and do our best. We've just started this year with United Way's assistance, a savings match program, which I'm very excited about. So families for 6 months, whatever they save, we will match it. And the goal is to create, I'm not interested so much in the number. If you can do $20 a month, great. It's to foster that habit of savings, because that's the key to staying out of homelessness. You've got to have some cushion. So our goal is, if they can leave our program and have a month's rent saved up, that would be terrific. That's kind of what we're aiming for. Also, a big push this year for myself, a motel to home. I really want to get into more workforce development. Jobs, income is key to staying stably housed. These are hourly paid jobs, a lot of them work. They're barely 50% AMI. It's not sustainable. They need support to be retrained. So that's kind of where we're going. In St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia, this year, workforce development is a big push for us statewide. So I'm hoping to see some great results with that. I also want to shout out St. Vincent de Paul. Our headquarters are in Chamblee. We have a free to low cost pharmacy. So if anybody has medical needs, please send them there. We have a tremendous food pantry that's open Monday through Friday. It's a client choice. They get to shop in there. We also have on-site caseworkers now at that facility. So if somebody is literally homeless or looking for assistance, they can come in there now. It's been a learning journey doing this, and our biggest challenge, as everyone we talk about, is affordable housing. Safe, affordable housing. Yes, there are rents out there that are $1,000 or just below. I don't know that I want my dog living in them, let alone families. These are families with children. So that is a huge disconnect in what these folks' families are earning and the cost of housing. There just isn't enough affordable housing. We get between 80 and 100 applications per week. I would say the vast majority of them are earning below 30% of AMI. I can't help them. There's nowhere to go. So huge disconnect with rents, incomes, all of it. I look forward to making more connections. Again, it truly takes a village. I can only do my piece of it, and I'm always looking. It's a puzzle. Keeping someone stably housed is a puzzle, and we all need to put in that piece and stay connected. And I'm hoping that through these kind of meetings and we make connections, that we all can work together and really try and solve this problem for our families out there. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Timothy Hardy. I am the Director of Code Compliance for DeKalb County. I got to tell y'all, almost feel out of place up here because the stories, the dialogue I'm hearing, it's great. Unfortunately, my position from a regulatory compliance standpoint is kind of the dirty but necessary part of the puzzle, as she would mention. So one of the things that my office does is we are tasked with coordinating cleanup efforts. We're tasked with identifying the different homeless camps or areas where they would, congregate or sleep. We have to identify whether it's private or public property. Once we identify that, then we have the challenge of dealing with the environmental impact of it, the community impact of it, the quality of life, not only for the homeless population, but the quality of life for the communities that they happen to be in. Usually, we're alerted to these different camps, tents, or areas, either by my friend Tommy over there in community development, or for the most part by citizens, community members who have some questions or concerns about what's happening around them. So you got to think about how this comes about, how they're actually living at the time, and the impact that it has on people around them. The business community, it's a huge impact on the business community, because some of the vacant business locations, or actually some of the occupied business locations, the homeless will take up residence near or somewhere on their property. Then we have the challenge of trying to relocate them, get them to move from one place to another, unfortunately, because that's what happens. It'll involve no less than 4 or 5 agencies at the time. That's my office, police department, community development, KDB, which is keep DeKalb beautiful, or sanitation if it's public space, and the trauma unit or the crisis unit for the police department. Because a lot of the homeless population that we encounter, have some mental health challenges, and that's part of that whole equation. I think the advantage for me being in this setting is just knowing all of the other resources that are out there and available to me. No, don't get me wrong, community development does a great job with offering services, but if I have another list of name of agencies or contact numbers that I can, click into, it's more helpful. If I didn't have a direct line to Tommy Phillips or Alan Mitchell, I would be lost as to what to do, because we have to get it cleaned up. It's usually the property owner's responsibility to get it cleaned up. Once we have the homeless population or individuals move to another location, then there's the residual of it, all the trash that's left. So then we have to mobilize our contractors or sanitation to get those areas clean. The property owner or business owners then have to have some type of communication with police. There's the no trespass piece of it that we have to deal with. So while the focus is clearly trying to get the homeless population assistance, we still, for me, I have to think about the regulatory piece. I have to think about what effect it has on that business owner or that property owner that lives next door. So I'm just anxious to hear some of the solutions here today, but I have to continue to do my job. And to the permitting piece, I think maybe the issue you were trying to permit in Brookhaven, so maybe you should come over to DeKalb, and we might be able to help you a little bit more. But that's all I have. So welcome, happy to take questions.
Thank you all very much. So we've got some great questions that have come from the floor here, and again, we've just got a few minutes. We'll have some time at the end. We can cover ones that we don't get to right now. But one person was asking, what solutions are you seeing to address mental health issues in particular with those that you're serving in? How are you either approaching that, or what are you seeing in terms of needs in particular with where you're intersecting with these issues?
I'll speak to that question, but I want to piggyback off of the code enforcement piece, because one of the things that I like to put forward is behavioral economics, right? So it's not either or. Either we provide for our homeless citizens or we're attentive to the neighbors. It's both, right? It takes both of those to make up a community. And it's not a dirty piece that you have to do. It's a necessary piece, right? So our unhoused citizens have to interrogate their reality, right? Tommy talked about their willingness to get out of the situation. So that's important. They have to be willing to interrogate their reality and ask why they're in that state and how do I get out? Because otherwise, all the services don't matter if they won't take advantage of them. We can transport them to frontline, but if they don't want to take advantage of the services, then we're at an impasse. So those are behavioral economics. And it's important for those of us who do the services, who are in the community, who are volunteers, that you talk that piece as well. It is not just on the service providers to provide the service. It is not just on the government entities to provide the finances or provide the structure. It is also on our unhoused neighbors or those at risk of homelessness. What are you doing about your reality? We're here to help you. I tell my clients all the time, I'm not going to outwork you, right? I will work with you. I will walk alongside you the whole way. But until they assess their behavioral economics, then we'll wind up in the situation where we have all the services, we have all the volunteers, we have the heart, we have the compassion, but we don't have the will to get out of the situation. And some of that is mental health, right? Some of those are related to mental health challenges. So that's a service piece, and so that service capacity exists. If they're in an encampment, they have to have that relationship with an outreach worker, the ability to be transported from that relationship that's developed to get to a service center where they can have those needs met, right? One of the challenges that COVID presented on HD was when you aren't able to go to have your needs met, your needs don't stop being a need, right? They have a negative impact on the rest of the community. So we're back in full scale now. So we have the ability, we have the service. We need to make sure that those who have the need, that the weight is not on them to get their behavioral health need met. Because if they could do that, then we would be out of business, right? And that's our goal, really, is to put ourselves out of business.
Anybody else want to speak to that? Okay, let me ask, again, we need to take a break in a few minutes. This is a question for Tommy. So you've got the microphone. So were you going to say something about, we'll let you answer both, but there may be others that want to address this question as well, because I think it's a broader one. Could you say more about the category or cause of homelessness that you described? Any estimates of how many people who don't trust going into shelters and need the support to begin to change their minds about that?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I think the visibility of what you see in DeKalb County is obvious when you start looking at going down to Cab Avenue. We had a young lady that's been there maybe 12 years now. She's been there a while. We just have to work with her. We have other people that we've been working with. We have another gentleman on DeKalb Avenue as a veteran. He's been there for a while. He's got his barbed wire up, twisting around the back of his area. We go in, we work with them, so we don't have the total numbers, but we're getting those numbers together so we know exactly where our cases are. We're putting that information together, so we will have a number for you in terms of the mental health situation similar to that we have. We had another young lady over in Scottsdale. She was evicted. She was on a bench for like 3 weeks. We worked with her for about 3 weeks to get her family, get her connected, her daughter and her son, to get her off the street. So we do what we need to do in terms of connecting services to these individuals on the street. We need more mental health services, which we're getting. We're going to talk a little bit later. We have another program coming online, and we don't want to take up all this time, but Home ARP is getting ready to come online, which has a lot of services, mental health services that we can provide. Alma Cooper, where'd she go? Alma's in here somewhere. There she is hiding in the corner. Hey, Alma, say, wait. Alma's going to have a program for us. It's going to help us with a lot of the mental health problems we have with a lot of providers, with a lot of funding to to get people off the street. So we're in the process now of bringing programs online that was going to address some of these problems and help some of our people with mental health issues to get them off the street, connected with services, and get them in shelter. Hope that answers your question.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much to our panel. Can we give them all a hand, please?